MJ, we're streaming. We're recording,
My
rather.
goodness. What world?
Hello. We're here talking about House of the Dragon Season 2, Episode 6, titled Smallfolk. This is the very queer episode, so we have MJ on. Hi MJ.
Hello, MJ. I'm Mary Jane, or MJ. Very excited to be talking about this episode. I love the gays.
Yeah,
One of the gays.
of course. We're gonna be talking about them at the very end. So
Excited.
right now, we have this scene of Aemond and Aegon. And so the way the show works is that I have a series of images up here with me, and they're just going to act as like talking points for us, pointing us in the right direction. And yeah, that's essentially it. The show is very simple. Do you want to talk a little bit about Aemond and his relationship with Aegon this episode?
Yeah, I just finished rewatching this episode,
Yes.
so it was so oddly intimate in like this very conniving way.
It was a very emotional episode, wasn't it?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
With Daemon and Viserys, and even like with Alicent and Aemond, and Alicent and Aegon, and like Alicent with, honestly, like Alicent with all of her children. Even with J-Rod, like just talking about her. And Alicent and Gwaine. And Rhaenyra and Mysaria, obviously. But yeah, this was a very intimate
sense
episode.
Of grief throughout the whole episode.
Mm-hmm.
It's very sticky.
This was like the first episode where I really, like, it was really obvious that Ewan Mitchell was inspired by all of this, like, all of these horror movie performances for Aemond, especially because the Green Council scene this episode, the way it opens with the shot of his face and then crumpling the paper, and just the way he delivers those lines, like, yeah, I'm like, ooh, okay, we are getting horror movie, like Freddy Krueger, Aemond almost.
Yes, his like tonal inflections are so sinister. They're very direct. They're sinister. They're strong. You can just tell his whole attitude is so different now that he's like in this very high seat of power.
I feel like Aemond. I feel like we can see what Daemon might become if he gets the Iron Throne through Aemond.
Oh yeah.
Like, What do you think about this scene in particular that we have up on the screen? Because do you think Aegon is lying or telling the truth about not remembering anything, and do you think Aegon or Aemond is threatening him? What do you think's happening here?
Oh yeah, it's an obviously threatening position. I believe in my heart Aegon is lying to keep himself safe. I think he's not dumb. He knows he's in a bed. He can't get out.
Well,
he can barely stay awake.
Yeah.
Well, he's a bit dumb.
He's a bit dumb.
He has some of his faculties about him. So I think he would remember. It's hard to forget a moment like that.
Yeah.
Still gotcha.
I think of a very interesting line in the book, actually, hold on. Those are spoilers. I won't say that line in the book. This is a non-spoiler stream for now. This is a non-spoiler video for now. We're going to be talking about spoilers at the end. But yeah, for now, this remains a spoiler-free section. We're only going to be talking about things that have happened up to Season 2, Episode 6. Yeah.
Okay.
What do you think, MJ, about the parallels between Daemon and Aemond? There's this very obvious spoilery answer. Let's try not to talk about that spoilery answer, but what do you think is happening there? Do you think it's sort of like a mentorship sort of situation? Do you think it's sort of like a situation where Aemond is inspired by Daemon? What do you think is happening there?
think if there is any inspiration, I don't think at this point in the war it would be intentional, knowing that Daemon has thwarted some of Aemond's plans by going to Harrenhal. But I think people have talked about this, I think behind the scenes too. Aemond is, in a way, a product of Daemon. He is kind of this mirror image of Daemon, where he gets raised horribly, treated horribly, but he still has like all this power, all of this, I guess, strength. But because of how he was raised and because of how his situations have changed him, he is like presenting all this power in like a way more sinister way.
Mm-hmm. He's essentially what Daemon would be if Viserys bullied him, I think.
Oh yeah.
Because we saw in some of the previous episodes that Aegon was being very rude and being very mean to Aemond. And I feel like, you know, Daemon, at least, he knows he has some lines that he won't cross, and especially surrounding his brother that we see in season 1 and in this season. But I feel that Aemond never had sort of like a strong bond with his brother, but all of like the jealousy and the resentment that Daemon had with Viserys. And because those like breaks aren't there with Aemond, then this is what you get. You get someone who's willing to like torch his own brother just to get ahead in the line of succession. So yeah.
It's kind of terrifying just seeing this glimpse of what Aemond could be. I mean, we've seen a lot of glimpses with him and Viserys and like Rook's Rest. He can become like a very unhinged person because he doesn't have, like you talked about, these like moral barriers. There's no boundaries. And also, with I think Viserys and Daemon, a lot of their relationship, I think, came out, like this closeness was born out of like so much grief. They lost their mother, their father. Most of like the Targaryens around them didn't really live into their adulthood, so they kind of only know each other in this sense. It isn't like that for Aegon and Aemond. There are a lot of other people who vie for their mother's attention, for power. So it's a different world for them.
It is, definitely. And I think, you know, as much as season 1 of House of the Dragon, as much as like all of the events that happened there was portrayed as a shit show, in the books, like the reign of King Viserys was described as the apex of Targaryen power, right? Like even though that there was all of this drama happening, it wasn't like in the King of or in the reign of King Jaehaerys where like a Targaryen dies like every single month or whatever, or not every single month, but pretty close to that.
Very often.
So yeah, there's almost this air of like everything is okay in King Viserys's reign, and like even in King Jaehaerys's reign, even though there was a lot of tragedy that happened in Jaehaerys's reign, you know, the kingdom was at peace. But now that the peace is broken, people don't really... There are a lot of people who are incompetent at this, like, at doing this whole war thing, right? But, you know, we see that some people have been preparing and, you know, they've been preparing a long time. Daemon being one of them. I would say Corlys being another. And
Kristen, I think, too.
Kristen and Aemond. Definitely not Aegon.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no.
But Kristen, or Aemond, to me, like, was sort of, like, preparing for all of this. Being, like, training with his sword, which we saw, like, back in season 1. And even, like, beating Kristen Cole and all that. So... yeah, I feel that Aemond's one of Aemond's advantages is that he has all of this martial prowess, which, you know, is rarer than people might think at this time period.
Yeah, because situationally, a lot of like martial parts of society kind of like died down during this like decades long era of peace, and it becomes from like a war driven like hobby to something that is more about like pride and showing off and competition. So there's you can see in a lot of characters that they think they're ready for war, but once they're confronted with it, it's like terrifying. They don't understand like how awful it is because it's been generations.
Mm-hmm. And especially a war between dragons. That's we've never really seen that in Westeros, and like Kristen certainly seems terrified in last episode after Rook's Rest.
Yeah, the kind of like complete total abandonment of Alicent for just going on to like Aemond's cause and supporting whatever he does. It's not more out of like companionship. This is like what we saw in the earlier episodes in last season, where Aemond and Kristen were more buddies together. It's there's a stark shift in power. Like Aemond gets a lot more power over Cole, and you can just see it in Cole's face. The way he says we've turned the war over to the dragons.
Mm-hmm.
Oof, spooky
stuff. Where do you think Aemond will, I guess, quote unquote, like stop? Because with Daemon, I think it's very plausible to say that Daemon is someone who's like obsessed with the climb, right? He needs a conflict in his life, whether it be the Stepstones or Harrenhal or whatever, or going to Pentos. He's someone who is constantly like moving and running around and just seeking conflict.
Super restless.
But also I would posit that if Daemon ever does get the Iron Throne, he'd just get bored of it. He would just be tired living in a time of peace and being like, can we like go to war against Dorne or something? I don't think Daemon would be a very good king, because I don't really think Daemon even wants to be king and have those responsibilities. Do you think Aemond is a reflection of that, or do you think Aemond is more content with the quiet, or what do you think?
I think it's a bit of both. You can see Aemond's like enjoyment of the violence, of the war, of this strategy, this manipulation of power, but he also kind of showed a lot of these traits during peacetime. I think he's pretty adept at both, and I don't think he dislikes one or the other. I think it's a lot of just like power grabbing because he wants the throne in a way that Daemon doesn't really want the throne. He just wants the idea of the throne, because it's been such a central part around so many conflicts in his life, this Iron Throne.
That's fair. I'm very interested going forward in seeing how Aemond deals with the smallfolk uprising, because in this episode, he's aware of it, but he doesn't really deal with it in any meaningful way. I'm excited to see what he does next episode in response to hearing that the smallfolk have attempted to hurt Alicent and Helena. And I don't think it's going to be pretty.
I really don't think it's going to be pretty at all. You're correct. I think it's going to be so bad. Oh my god. I mean, you said kind of like we were talking about Daemon's like barriers. A lot of them are his family, Rhaenyra. We see this in his dreams. Mm-hmm. I think when Aemond, it's the women in his life. Like he's very
sure, yeah.
Probably the way that the women actually want him to be, but I don't know. Spooky.
That's a good point. And there was also like the seed planted like last season of him wanting to marry Helena. I'm wondering if that's going to come into play at some point.
I don't know. Yeah.
We've never really seen Aemond and Helena interacting, except I think it was last episode where she asked him if it was worth it. Yeah. I'm interested in seeing if... Yeah, I'm really interested in seeing if they get any scenes going forward.
Yeah, Tia Siobhan is like one of my favorite actresses to watch.
Yeah.
So entertaining.
We love Helena here. I really hope nothing bad happens to Helena. I was very stressed out during this episode when they were chasing my poor girl. Like, please let's leave her alone.
I almost let out.
Yeah. Okay. Do you think we're done talking about Aemond and Aegon? Do you want to move to...
I want to talk about like the little ball that Aemond gave Aegon.
Oh, sure, yeah.
That was so interesting. I didn't really understand it.
Okay. Honestly, I interpret that as sort of like a parallel between Daemon and Viserys, in the way that, Daemon, despite doing awful things to Viserys, indirectly and directly, Daemon always supported him as a king and never wanted to, usurp the throne from his brother or anything. He wanted to be his heir. Daemon didn't want to, assassinate his brother. I feel like a similar thing...
Yeah.
Well, similar in air quotes, because we saw Aemond trying to kill Aegon in episode 4, but I read this as a sort of similar situation where Aemond is telling his brother, like, you're still the king. You're still the king, and we need to rally around you, but I'm not happy. I'm not happy about it, so I'm gonna push this frickin' ball into your burnt chest.
I don't know. Twisted. Yeah.
I don't know if my read is accurate. Maybe not, but that's what I get from him pushing the ball into...
I think that Aemond doesn't even know himself if he wants to, see Aegon die so he can ascend the throne. I think being confronted with, this horrible, twisted version of Aegon, I think he might have felt like a little bit of guilt in a way, though he might not admit it to himself too much.
Yeah.
I don't know. Even when they were younger, it wasn't like a hatred, it was more like an annoyance. So this twisting from, a brother bond to, the bond of king and prince.
Yeah.
I think that's what really fucks up the relationship a lot.
Mm-hmm. Just like Daemon and Viserys, which parallels.
Yeah. Parallels. So many parallels.
I remember back in, the early seasons of Game of Thrones where we all hated Theon, and then Theon got tortured, and then we were like, yeah, you do that, and then that happened, for many episodes, and then we were sort of like, oh, maybe let's not do that. Yeah. I'm kind of feeling the same way about Aegon right now. He's still a piece of shit, but I just, when you see someone in that condition, you a part of you just, no matter what, just feels bad.
Yeah.
Feels bad.
Not even Aegon is still a fucking awful person, but seeing him in the position, even I think episode 4 when he was talking to Alicent, what should I do? Him here talking to Aemond, you just see he's not this full-grown adult who has this sense of self. He's just still following the people around him, even with Aemond's threats. And so you just kind of see this child in him. It's fucked up because that's juxtaposed with his awful actions. It's I think that's kind of the beauty of George's writing. You can have two things in one person. You can hold both selves.
Yep.
I love it.
Good and evil. Do we want to move on to the next slide?
Yeah.
All right. Let's talk. This is a very funny screenshot.
Oh my god.
Let's talk a little bit about Daemon this episode. We were talking a little bit about Daemon before, but yeah, this episode was the episode where he lost it, right? And I find that very interesting. I'll be honest, for the past couple of episodes, the Harrenhal plot seemed dragging to me, especially last episode. Like episode 3, having Daemon arrive and then tripping out and that was cool. That was really cool. Episode 4, having that first scene where he cuts off Millie Alcock's head, that was cool. But then it started, it started to repeat itself, and then it was like, eh. And then especially last episode, episode 5, where I forget. I forget what happened in episode 5.
He had like the weird mom incest dream.
Oh yeah, that's why. It's because I don't want to remember. Yeah.
Smart.
Yeah, no, that episode, like, the Daemon Harrenhal plot, it's becoming repetitive, but because things are happening to him, and it's not like he's reacting in any different way, right? Or at least in the past 3 episodes. However, in episode 6, there's a shift in Daemon. He's like, he's lost it. He's starting to become outwardly affected by it. Sorry, what did you say?
He's exhausted.
Oh yeah, no, I would be too. If I had to deal with this for like God knows how many weeks. I think that the sort of like breaking point, so to speak, for Daemon is seeing Viserys. Like, he can be confronted about, he can be confronted about Rhaenyra. He can be confronted about Alyssa. He can even be confronted about, his own mother, who he's never met. But I think like the real breaking point for Daemon is seeing his brother and how he failed Viserys. And I find that very, very compelling, because like we know that Daemon loves Viserys. It's just he's never really been able to show that outwardly.
Yeah, I think that's kind of like the lack of parents in his life. I don't think he ever had a chance to understand how love can be shown to people around you in a healthy way.
Oh yeah.
So he's always acting out, like we saw in the first season, like to get his brother's attention in ways that his brother seemed like more hurtful than like Daemon imagines, like challenging his authority, taking Dragonstone.
Yeah.
He's being confronted with all the shit he's done, and he's like, oh my god, this is horrible. And that combined with his brother's passing, like, it's tragic.
Yeah, and like
That's my heart.
The best scene, or I'm debating, but one of the best scenes this episode, I think, was when he was with Viserys, looking at Emma's dead body, and Daemon tells his brother that he's here, but it's too late because it's a dream. That was a good scene.
That was a really good scene. I liked in the scene, the first shot was just like the water dripping down. So I think it's Daemon kind of noticing that it's not real, and he's kind of accepting that it's not real. He's getting like the parts of Harrenhal in there. So I think he's, in a way, he's already hit like the peak of this like trippy dream shit.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's kind of accomplished a lot of personal battles.
Yeah. And I think oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, we saw like with different characters, we see like young Rhaenyra, we see Laena, we see, I think, Rhaenyra again on the Iron Throne, we see his mother, we see all these like personal battles he's had with the women in his life, and none of them like make him react the same way he does with Viserys.
Yeah, yep. It's, I think Daemon's internal journey at Harrenhal has been very intriguing to watch, and I think that for in a lot of ways we're kind of done with that after this episode. I think the next 2 episodes we won't be focusing on Daemon tripping balls at Harrenhal. I think next episode he might still be at Harrenhal, but he's just gonna have to do a lot more things like with the River Lords next episode. I think. I think Daemon's emotional arc has now sort of completed. And I think like what he got from his time at Harrenhal is realizing, you know, how to let down those walls and how to show everybody around him in a healthy way that he loves them. I think that's very valuable to Daemon, especially, you know, if he ever wants to make up with Rhaenyra.
That's a very good point. Oh my god. Yeah, I think like this is his internal emotional journey is definitely completed.
Yeah.
He's still going to have a lot of work to be done with the people around him, because it's not just Rhaenyra he's quarreling with. He left his daughters too. Like,
yeah.
He left like a lot of family at Dragonstone to go deal with his own shit, and this very selfish act. So I think a lot of it is going to be the fallout of this kind of selfish act. He's going to be, it's like a, I guess, walk of atonement, like a walk through fire.
Ooh, yeah.
I also think that was the common thread throughout all these dreams has obviously been Alice Rivers. We saw like the
very interesting character.
Weirwood paste.
Yeah.
I mean,
the
there's
owl.
definitely tampering. The owls. Oh
yeah.
my god. Like Alice being able to like recite some of the stuff that he's been dreaming. He kind of, towards the end of the episode, he accepts that. He doesn't question it anymore. He accepts that Alice understands what he's going through. He kind of, unknowingly but knowingly, realizes Alice is like kind of the reason for it, but he's accepting it in a way. I don't know. It's odd.
He's I think it's evidently shown in the first Daemon scene we get this episode, where he's like locked in the throne room with Viserys, that like he can't run away from his problems anymore.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. And he cries. He's crying when he wakes up.
Yeah, and that's a first for Daemon.
Or sadness.
Mm-hmm.
What'd you say, girl?
That's a first for Daemon.
Oh yeah. Very new, very spooky.
Yeah.
It's his arc. I think it has been a little slow, but
I'm glad we got this though. I'm glad that I'm glad that he's changing. I'm very glad that he's changing, and I can't wait for what that could mean for the future of this story. Because like Daemon, up until this point, and I would say like even at this, like him going on this emotional journey, eating weirwood paste at Harrenhal, like that doesn't absolve him of like the things he's done in his past, or you know, the type of person that he is. But you know, he's better, I guess. He might try to atone for those things he's done in the past after this, especially with like Rhaenyra, and especially maybe like with his daughters as well, you know.
Yeah, because I think we've seen since we were introduced to Baela and Rhaena, I think episode 5 when they're in Pentos, like the relationship has always been troubled. It's always been lopsided. So even if we don't see all of it get resolved this season, it's going to be cool to see it resolved next season, maybe before season 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just really like his arc. And I mean, when I was thinking about how they would do Daemon's Harrenhal arc before the season, I was like, I don't know how they're going to be able to do all of this through dialogue. And they were able to show, through the dreams, like, an indirect way, like, his grieving process, his acceptance of what he's done. It's like a really clever way they went about it.
Yeah.
So smart.
And I'm thinking, like, this is a bit of like fan fiction in my head, but I'm thinking that next episode we might get like, I think, one last dream sequence where he has to confront like older Rhaenyra and like swear allegiance to her, and maybe he does that. I don't know, but I
mean, it would be a nice little cherry on top. I would like that.
yeah. But I'll just fan fiction in my head. But yeah, Daemon's Harrenhal story. It's been an interesting one. It's been an interesting one because this hasn't happened in the books. You know, he kind of just goes to Harrenhal, assembles an army, and that's that. But this is
really
good.
Cool. And I like cool the dreams. They definitely feel different than I guess what I would imagine a dragon dream is. And I was just thinking about a lot of the dance's manipulations from like supposed green seers like Alice and Laris.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's cool to see that some of these dreams might not even be dragon dreams. They could just be like,
oh yeah, I don't think Daemon's a dragon dreamer.
Yeah.
I think it's more of I think it's more green dream stuff. We can honestly talk a little more about this later in the video because I have some interesting things to say about Daemon. But let's move on. Okay, sounds good. Oh my god, dragon, Seasmoke.
This scene. Oh my god.
Very cool. Rest in peace, Ser Steffon Darklyn.
Rest in peace. Gone.
I can hear a dog in the background. Hello, dog in the background.
Oh my god, yeah. Dog in the background, my little corgi, my little baby.
Aww, cute.
Super cute.
Speaking of corgi, we have this fantasy corgi on screen, and this fantasy corgi has been quite sad the last couple of episodes, quite distressed. Which is very interesting because people have been saying, like, does that mean Laenor is dead? Because dragons can only have a bond with one rider, from what we know, from the books. Dragons can only have a bond with one rider. And the fact that we see later in this episode Addam claiming Seasmoke, does that mean that Laenor died off screen? What do you think? Is Laenor gonna come back at all, like, in future seasons or in future episodes, or is this a hard confirmation that Laenor's gone?
The writers, I think they're pretty smart, so I think this is probably a hard confirmation that Laenor is dead. Because I don't know any way they can bring Laenor back in any...
I'm very sad.
Yeah.
I'm very sad about that. I want Laenor back. Oh.
I kind of like that he got to live his own life and kind of die away from the court that kind of like choked him a little bit.
Mm-hmm. I really hope they explain that. I really hope that they explain that in the next couple of episodes. Because if they don't, then that would be quite odd, huh? If they don't, then that leaves a door for Laenor to potentially come back. But yeah, I don't know. I want Laenor to come back. I want Laenor to come back. Have you seen the theory on the Interesting Nerd Club that Laenor's black trombo? That theory?
No, but that would be funny.
Yeah.
Oh, never mind. But
yeah, because of what Black Trombo does.
Oh wow. Hey, that would. I don't know.
I want Laenor to come back, but at this point, I'm fine if he does not.
Yeah.
But I'll only be fine if they explain that Laenor's probably dead. And probably, died off screen. And that's why Seasmoke is... I want them to say something about that. I don't want Laenor to just be something that they never... Be someone who they never talk about again.
I think they will have to. Especially with Steffon Darklyn and his death. Mm-hmm. It might be an assumption from Rhaenyra that, Laenor might still be alive. She might have thought, with Seasmoke's rejection of Steffon Darklyn, it wasn't just the rejection of a Darklyn, but the rejection of any other writer. So I think now that Addam has claimed Seasmoke, she's definitely being confronted with that. Oh shit, he's probably fucking dead.
Yeah. Or what if Carl comes back? Wait, what if Carl Corey comes back and is one of the minor characters from later in the war, and he's just masquerading as someone. What if Carl
That
Curry
would
comes
be
back? That would be
that'd be
insane.
interesting.
That'd be interesting. I don't know what that would add to the story, but it's just something that I came up with right now. Um, okay, I feel bad for a lot of the dragons who have been alone for like a long time. Like think Vermithor and
Decades.
Silverwing. Yeah,
Oh my god,
poor
yeah.
Vermithor and Silverwing. Like uh, Jaehaerys died like what 30 years ago, and
Yeah.
poor Vermithor. That's so
So
sad.
lonely. Silverwing's been more
Yeah.
lonely. It's like, yeah, longer than that. Probably 50 years. 50,
Mhm.
60 years, something like that. Crazy long time since they've had riders.
Yeah, and I don't know if I don't know what the implications of that of their loneliness might be because I got the impression that it was Seasmoke's loneliness and like longing for Laenor that made him seek out another rider. I'm wondering if like the other dragons are sort of gonna like seek out riders that resemble their previous riders or what have you.
That would be interesting. I mean, it could happen like that. I mean, I don't know.
I don't know how it's gonna happen. The claiming of the dragons. I'm really excited to find out. It's probably gonna happen
Yes.
more, next episode, but that's gonna be
Yeah.
a really cool moment. Yeah.
I mean,
And
just this moment in and of itself, you got to see the whole dragon bonding process. We saw it with like Aemond and Vhagar.
mm-hmm,
It was cool to see it again.
mm-hmm.
I saw a lot of parallels. So I kind of want to talk about that for a second.
Yeah.
So there is like the use of the Valyrian terms, like Doiras, Rivas, the kind of stuff to like just get the dragon to listen
Yes.
to the person who wants to claim it.
Yeah.
Aemond had to do that while Vhagar was threatening to burn like Aemond. And he had to like calm him down using his Valyrian. I guess you could kind of tell that it was like a test, along with like the sniffing that Vhagar did. Seasmoke did that with Steffon Darkland, and it kind of worked for a second. But when Seasmoke like came up to like burn Steffon Darkland, it was one of the Dragon Keepers who was trying to tell it to stop, not Steffon Darkland. I think that was the mistake. I honestly think Seasmoke might have bent its neck to Steffon Darkland if Steffon Darkland just like kept telling him like stop.
I think the mistake was that Steffon said I did it. I think the mistake was that Ser Steffon said spoken the common tongue in English instead of High Valyrian, and I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe the dragon got freaked out about that, which raises the question of like Sunfire, the bilingual dragon. I don't know. I don't know the specifics.
I don't know.
But yeah, a little more on like the dragon stuff. We got to see Stormcloud this episode. Tiny little Stormcloud.
Oh my god.
What a cutie. Yeah. I mean, I would imagine that like the bond that a dragon has with their first rider, that they see the most when they are a literal baby. Like that has to be the strongest, right? Like Vhagar with Visenya, Balerion with frickin' Daenys the Dreamer, which by the way, that's probably why Balerion allowed Arya Targaryen to mount her because Balerion was probably reminded of Daenys when Arya came to her. Yeah. Because Daenys was 12 years old when she first rode Balerion, and Arya was 12 years old when she first rode Balerion. Yeah. It's crazy.
It's a crazy parallel.
Yeah.
And then that explains the going back to Balerion. It's like, okay, old grandpa Balerion was just like,
we're going back. We're going back home. Yeah. Oh. These dragons are sentimental creatures. They're very intelligent and they're very loving, which I love. But also they can kill you. They're spicy cats.
Very callous.
Yeah. They're just very spicy kittens that can breathe fire.
Yeah. Oh my god, the kind of like burning and then walking away that Seasmoke did was so like shrugging them off her shoulder, like, oh, go
Icon
away, I
move.
don't really care.
Work.
So iconic, yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any more dragon talk you would like to discuss?
I think the model looks really cool. I think last time we saw Seasmoke was
season 1, episode 5.
Still very young.
We saw him briefly in episode 5 when Maylis and Seasmoke were riding together to go to Laenor's funeral.
Oh yeah.
But that was like a brief moment. So yeah, we haven't seen him in a long time. Yeah. He looks really a lot. Cool. He looks a lot more like one of Dany's dragons in this sort of model.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Kind of like Dreamfire too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We're really probably. Cool. I wish we can see more Dreamfire. I don't know if we're gonna get like any more Dreamfire scenes until the big moment, you know. I don't know if there's any like opportunity for us to be getting Dreamfire scenes.
If we were going to have an opportunity, it would have already happened by now.
That's fair.
I think it's a little too late.
Yeah, because we haven't seen a lot of Dreamfire. We haven't really seen like a close up of her design.
Yeah, we saw Dreamfire in a cave once, lit by their own flames. Yeah. So that, and then on Driftmark.
Because besides Vhagar, like Dreamfire is the oldest dragon in Westeros right now. Apparently she's not the biggest. Yeah, apparently she's not the largest because apparently like Vermithor just grew faster, I guess. But she's the oldest.
Vermithor has been on Dragonstone for quite a while. Dragonstone's known to take the Dragonstone.
Yeah, maybe
Dreamfire has lived in the pit most of its life.
Maybe being on Dragonstone is conducive to like dragons growing faster and bigger and all that. That's cool. Yeah. Okay. Shall we move on?
So cool.
I love the dragons in this series.
Oh wait, I have one more comment.
Yes.
About the Seasmoke.
What's up?
The Dragon Keeper who slit his throat with the dragon glass. I thought that was really neat.
Yeah. Ooh, how morbid. God. Yeah.
They kind of have like the ritual already, so they know what they're getting into. But like this isn't our first rodeo.
This isn't our first rodeo. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's such a good point that they know to have the dagger already on. Yeah. Oh, how sad.
You can see some of the other ones. They're holding onto their daggers and their staffs too.
Yeah, and like
they're not gonna hit the dragons. It's for themselves.
Yeah, and some of them have like soot, like on their faces and whatnot. They've definitely tangled with the dragons before. Cool stuff.
Oh, and I love this song.
Yeah, it was it the same song that Daemon was singing in episode 10? I thought it was, which was like, oh, are we getting a flashback? No, this is a new scene. Which I found it cool that it cut from Daemon at Harrenhal to the song, and then us being in the like I felt like that was a really cool cut.
Oh yeah, a lot of very cool cuts this episode. I noticed.
Yeah,
so smart.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
that's
all I got.
Let's talk about the smallfolk. You know, this episode is called Smallfolk. Let's talk a bit about them. We see Ulf this episode. We see Lady Sylvie, and we see Diana this episode as well. And last episode, we saw Alinda Massey and Diana meeting up together to do like who knows what. And you know the Alinda Massey thing. Yeah. The Alinda Massey thing was a new thing. Like the books didn't have Alinda Massey going to King's Landing. The books didn't have Rhaenyra's ships sending the smallfolk food. So you know this is not a spoiler, but like I think we can talk a little bit about what we think is happening here. So like, what do you think is happening with this entire Diana and Alinda plot? Do you think it's connected to, you know, do you think Alinda was just somehow like allowing the ships through, or what do you think is happening there? Because clearly it was part of Mysaria and Rhaenyra's plan.
Yeah. I'm very sure Olinda got briefed on what to do, what the point of her mission was. I'm sure Zarya, because she spent so much time in the city, she knew who Olinda was close to, because Olinda was also in the Red Keep at a point. That's probably why Olinda knew Diana.
Yeah.
I'm very sure this was all very calculated, and this was one of my favorite scenes in the episode, by far.
Yeah,
it was just great propaganda.
It was, and it was 3 minor characters having a scene together. It was 3 minor characters coming together in a scene and being the main characters of that scene. And I found that really cool.
That.
Yeah, I found it really cool that we saw these 3 minor characters together sort of have their own scene without any of the quote unquote bigger characters like Alicent or Rhaenyra or the royals, I found that really cool.
Even Aegon.
Yeah.
It was very nice. You got to really see the small folk. They weren't juxtaposed with royalty. Mm-hmm. It was just the small folk.
It was just that.
Just seeing them, you could see that even amongst the small folk, there's levels of power. There's levels of influence. Lady Sylvie, I think she owned the brothel that Aemond went to.
Yeah.
So Miss Arya isn't just calling on random small folks to do this. She's choosing the people she wants to work with intentionally because she knows they have a lot of influence. They can get their word around to enough people.
Wait a minute. Do you think that Lady Sylvie is working with Miss Arya?
Oh, for sure. The way she was talking, how it was so intentional.
Okay,
intentional. Yeah. No, intentional.
Sure.
The way she talked with Diana, too. I think there was a funny line. It was about Aegon. I forgot what it was, but they were oh, he would never do that. Or he's so gracious or something like that, where they were praising him knowing Diana was fully raped.
Yeah.
It was so intentional, and it was just so... I loved it. It was one of my favorite scenes.
Yeah, and later in the riot, we really get to see the discontent of the small folk and their fear. And I'm really loving that in this season, we're getting the small folk actually having consequences to some of the more major characters, because obviously in Game of Thrones we there were riots here and there, but the riots didn't really go anywhere. The riots happened because they were very tense scenes where you don't know if Sansa is gonna make it out, or you don't know if Joffrey or Cersei, if anything bad is going to happen to them. But the small folk riot, and there are no lasting consequences of the actions of the small folk. But I think that we see here that these riots and the actions of the small folk, they're going to have big consequences on the story, and I really like that.
It's so... They're not being used as a plot device. Mm-hmm. And I think that's, the best way to use, the population in, any piece of literature in a show, is to show that while, the main characters or, the upper class, they have their own levels of power, it's always reflected on, the larger population. There is, levels of power there, too. So it's so cool to see kind of, the seeds planted of who are kind of, influential, who has all, who chooses who's doing what. It's so nice to see them. Not just plot devices. I love it. I love it.
Heck yeah. So, man, it seems with all of these points we have or at least I have spoilery things that I want to talk about with them. So I guess we move this to the end.
Yeah.
I think this is a really interesting episode because of that. Because this episode, and I won't get into specifics, but this episode makes a lot of future events able to happen. A lot of future events are able to happen because of the things that happened both in last episode, episode 5, and in this episode, episode 6. So I,
The writers, yeah,
I see a
they're doing
bunch
their
of
due diligence.
yes, I see a bunch of people on the internet bashing on this episode and bashing on last episode because they thought it was slow. They thought, like, why should I care about these characters? We as book readers, uh, we as book readers know why we should care about some of these characters, and seeing them do the things that they're doing is really interesting because a bunch of like puzzle pieces start getting put into place, and I
Oh
really
yeah,
enjoy that.
so enjoy because like the book that is from, I think Fire and Blood. It's a lot of it, it's done from like three perspectives, and they're all perspectives that come after the time. So we lose a lot of like the small folk, the minor characters. We lose a lot of their motivations, like the wins of history,
Yeah,
and like how they were seen when they were last alive. It's cool to see these minor characters that were told that we're doing one thing, they're actually doing another thing. It's so fun to see the difference. And it's so fun because it all makes sense in the context of the story. And it makes like the outcome that the book readers know like even more potent and even more meaningful.
yeah,
It's so smart.
yeah. Because in some of these episodes, I'm realizing all of a sudden not just like, oh, um this character, it makes sense for them to do this, and this. I'm starting to realize, like, oh, I can see why history would view them as how they were described in Fire and Blood.
Yeah.
I find that really interesting. Um,
So cool.
shall we move on to the next scene?
Yes.
I think, is it this one? Yes, it's Addam and Alan here, and as we can see, Alan has some of that Valyrian white hair coming through. Which, okay, hold on. Okay. Before we talk about anything, as someone who does drag, I know how fucking difficult it is to put on a wig and like hair and everything. Like, I want to know how they did this. How did they do this?
Oh,
Is it a wig cap? Is it? I did not watch the behind the scenes. Tell me, is it not a wig cap? What happened?
No. He was like shaved bald. Like he's bald.
Yes.
It's very obvious.
Yeah.
I think they used like a special sort of powder or like
like
a mimic of flocking. Do you know what that is?
No. What is that?
Okay, so it's been like seen on his TikTok a lot. These like little squishy things that are like super sticky. They'll add like a little coat to it and spray these almost like fiberglass, like short, like tall pieces. Not even tall, but like skinny pieces of like glitter or something onto these little animals or whatever to kind of give it like a shinier vibe. I think that's the technique they used while doing that. They used like white powder or flocking to mimic the hair.
They grew out his hair and then they put that thing on their hair, on his hair. Yeah.
Oh no, it's like a dull blade. So his hair's still bald. So they just use like water flocking.
Oh, okay.
Dull blade, make it seem like it was actual hair.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, that's cool. Yeah, when I first watched that, I was like, how the heck did they do that? Yeah, that's cool. But yeah, we see Alan has the Valyrian hair and Addam does not. Very ironic that Addam is the one who claims Seasmoke at the end of this episode. We've seen Alan being kind of hesitant in trying to get close to Corlys and doing things for Corlys, but Addam sort of has a more ambitious sort of attitude, I would say, where he wants, the attention of Corlys and all that jazz. Why do you think Alan is so hesitant to, distinguish himself and to be a part of like Lord Corlys's entourage? Why do you think that's the case?
It's part anger at Corlys because, he's a bastard. He was abandoned because, like, by his father. because Corlys feared like Rhaenys and what she would think. So he only ever got like Rhaenys' permission right before she died. So it's like over like years, like a whole. He developed into adulthood without his father being there. So I think he's just super hesitant to receive this love and attention, and I think he's kind of spiteful because he knows that it's because he's lost so many other people in his life. He kind of might think like, oh, Corlys is trying to replace one of them with me, and he might not like that.
Mm.
And I think it's also, he talked about it like with Addam. He doesn't want his men to get the wrong idea. He says that. Like, he doesn't want his men to think that all like the achievements that Alan has made, that I'm pretty sure he wants to make. Like, I think he enjoys sailing and fighting and all the fun stuff that are all around shipmaking and the Velaryon kind of like way of life. I think he just doesn't want it to be overshadowed by the fact that he's a lord's son. He got to where he is because he's a lord's son, even though he's a bastard. Like I said before with the smallfolk, there's still levels of power. So like, it's very interesting. I really love his character, and especially because I think they made him the older brother in the show.
Yeah. In the books, Alan's the younger brother. So that's really interesting.
About that, I don't know that I think it works. I think Addam's ambition makes sense more as a second son, and as someone who doesn't have like plainly Valyrian hair and like features.
I mean, in the books, they're like 18.
Yeah, they're pretty old.
Yeah, they look older than 18.
It was very odd when they first came on screen. I was like, oh, they're a lot older than I thought they would be.
Yeah, because I was expecting like a Jon Snow sort of age. That was my expectation, but...
Yeah, this looks like mid-20s. Yeah. I was like, oh, okay.
Which, has implications for the story going forward and some of the larger pieces of the story. But for now, like, I think it's fine for now. I think what you said is very interesting. The fact that you brought up, like, the sort of levels of privilege even within the small folk. I think, like what you said about Alan trying to be like self-made, right? Is that what you were getting at? Alan wants to be self-made and not having to rely on his Valyrian heritage. Meanwhile, we have Addam. Addam seems like more positive, more adventurous, and more ambitious.
Fun.
Which it's a super fun dynamic between the both of them. Like we have. Like, to be honest, we haven't really gotten a lot of screen time between the two of them, but like from what we've seen, like I believe that these two are brothers. Like the actors have like really good chemistry.
It's so fun to watch. They're very talented.
It's a very fun dynamic. I'm really interested in seeing where Addam and Alan's story goes next episode in particular. I think we're gonna get a lot more screen time for some of these like quote like smaller characters. Me and RIG last week we were complaining a little bit about the fact that the Velaryon characters are all super cool and really interesting and compelling characters, but we don't get a lot of screen time from them. So like what he was saying is just like I really want to see lots more Velaryon scenes, because like as much as this is a Targaryen and Hightower story, like the Velaryons are there too, and like half of the blacks are Velaryons, and so I think going forward, like we are gonna have a lot more of the Velaryons. It just sucks that Rhaenys is dead, Laena is dead, Laenor is probably dead now, and now we finally get a lot more of that, but better late than never.
Yeah, I think that's going to be like a super effective use of the characters in like the latter half of the show. I think like their roles will definitely just mean a lot more to viewers who don't know the story. Mm-hmm. So I'm just really excited to see how this plays out. I'm excited for the dialogue. I'm just so stoked for next episode.
Yeah. And this episode I think sets up a sort of narrative that you don't need to have Targaryen as your last name for you to have an impact on this world. You know?
Yeah. The episode preview, I think, had Jace saying, what does that mean for us if a bastard can...
If a bastard can claim a dragon. Yeah.
That's also what I'm super excited to see, because we have seen, like, the relationship of bastardy in relation to the High Court and the Iron Throne, what it means amongst the lords.
Okay, how hypocritical, though? How hypocritical of Jace, though?
That's what I love.
Because he knows that he's a bastard. How hypocritical of him. And, like, I think, like, last season, we saw the dynamic between Jace and Luke, where Luke was sort of, like, ashamed and, like, fearful of the fact that he was a bastard. But Jace was sort of like, no, we're not. Because it's not about what's the truth, it's about appearances. Which by the way, was a thing that was passed from Viserys to Rhaenyra. Viserys telling Rhaenyra the truth doesn't matter, it's only about appearances. And I think that's a very unhealthy way to look at things. And I think that, Viserys passed that down to Rhaenyra, and Rhaenyra probably passed that down to Jaehaerys. And
it's such a fun, interesting dynamic. I'm so excited to see all of this playing out, because Jace has had, like, such a stable, like, in this season, like a stable amount of power, in a way. He's, like, isn't questioned in the same way that he and his brother were constantly questioned last season. So it's going to be cool to see that, like, brush up against himself, knowing that there are, like, actual bastards who are known as bastards claiming these dragons. I think it's just going to bring up a lot of stuff between him and Rhaenyra.
Yeah.
I'm already loving this mother-son dynamic.
Yeah, so we're seeing Jace sort of... and I don't think I have a picture of Jace here, so we can talk about him here while looking at this image, but we see already that there's sort of this, like, rift starting to form between Jace and Rhaenyra. Especially in this episode where Jace and Rhaenyra were talking, and Mazaria comes in, and she just says the gift is ready, and Jaehaerys asks what gift, and Rhaenyra doesn't answer him. Like, okay, a bit of some advice for Rhaenyra, like, maybe in that scenario, just tell Jace that you're planning to give the small folk of King's Landing food. Like, I don't know why that has to be a secret, But
so stupid.
Like, fair. Okay, whatever. But the thing about Jaehaerys, though, is that now he knows that Rhaenyra's plotting behind his back, and she's plotting behind the back of, like, the backs of the Black Council. That, she has this sort of, like, clandestine, like, secret like connection with, like, Mazaria, and I feel like that there's a sense of, like, distrust among the two now. And, like, this goes both ways too. Jace sneaking out last episode to go to the twins and not telling Rhaenyra. I think I don't know how their relationship's gonna pan out these next couple of episodes, and, like, even into next season, maybe. I think it's really interesting.
I mean, we're already seeing the rift you were talking about. It's constantly, like, Jace is being frustrated because Rhaenyra's not trusting him. And then Rhaenyra kind of, like, lets him in some ways. She tells him about the Song of Ice and Fire on stream, but she kind of chastises him for taking action and meeting with the phrase. So it's like Aemond kind of said it about Alicent. She speaks with two tongues. Like, Rhaenyra says one thing, but in other ways she's showing that the trust isn't already there. It's not always there. You talked to, like, behind the back of the council, they're plotting this. It adds so much layers. I think there's might be, like, a pattern that continues, especially because it's successful. We see how effective all of Mazaria's tactics have been. So I think she's going to stop relying on her council as much, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And Jace is a part of the council, so I don't know. It's so interesting to watch.
Oh, yeah. again, I'm thinking more about spoiler stuff.
Me too.
We can just put that back here. We can have like a whole spoiler section at the end. Do you want to talk about Alicent?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Sounds good. To me, all right. I don't see a lot of people talking about this scene, but for me, this is probably the best scene, or like the second best scene of this episode, where she's talking to Gwaine and asking about Daemon. I think this is such an emotionally impactful scene for Alicent, because of like all of the things that are implied and kind of confirmed by the conversation that she has with Gwaine about Daemon. You know, Daemon is Daemon is stalwart. He's clever. He's good with the sword and with the lute, and he's kind. You know, that's like the most important thing. He's kind. He's a good person, which really isn't seen with Aegon and Aemond. I think in many ways Alicent is relieved that she has a son who is a kind person, but she's also probably very heartbroken that the son she has, who's, you know, kind and all of these good things, is the one that she sent away, is the one that she knows the least about, is the one that she did not really have an impact on. And, you know, she's starting to question her like motherly skills, and like how good she was able to raise her own children in this scene. And I found it very impactful. And also, you know, because Daemon mention, you know, I always get freaked out when we got a Daemon mention. It's like, oh, that the fourth child who's riding a blue dragon. It's great. But yeah. This, I really enjoyed this scene. When I watched this episode for the first time, I literally like rewound the episode to listen to that scene again. It's very good. It's very good.
It's so good. I mean, the acting is just like perfect. Like the personal implications are so like tragic. It's so heartbreaking. I think a lot of this is lost on like normal viewers because the show, I mean, it hasn't been allowed to set up Daemon. They have like, there isn't enough like setup for this kind of tragedy. We've only heard of Daemon like I think once or twice before this.
Yeah.
So it isn't. I'm assuming it's not as impactful for other viewers who like don't know the books, but God, I think it just shows like HBO really should have taken more of a chance on the show, given it a couple more episodes for it to really find its footing.
Yeah, that's a thing, you know. Like when you're doing a new show, unfortunately, you have to think about the off chance that it doesn't do well, and so you have to plan the story around that, and making like the first season tell a cohesive story, and that maybe means you have to rush it. It's a whole thing, but yeah,
it's a lot. It's a lot to juggle for one show. So like, yeah, I don't hold it too much against them. I think the actors did like a really good job of talking about this scene, or really humanize this character we haven't seen before. Mm-hmm. And like you said, it was like heartbreaking to watch it happen with Alice, because, well, I'm sure there's like a bit of tragedy. I'm pretty sure there's also guilt. Like, I sent this child away. Mm-hmm. She barely hears from this kid, like from what we're told. And so this is kind of like her way of trying to relieve some of the guilt, trying to see like, she like the other two. Because she just come off of the Council of Aemond, and she's just like really bereaved.
Mm-hmm. And I also really liked the interactions between Alicent and Gwaine, because it's a fine line that the actors have to portray. You know, these two characters are siblings, and therefore they're very close. But they also they also don't see each other a lot, right? Like, Gwaine lives in Old Town, and Alicent lives in King's Landing. Like, they're they're
literally
like two
across the
different,
world.
yeah, they're two different, very different people, and despite the fact that they're siblings, they're kind of like strangers to each other. So
Yes.
I think that the actors did a pretty good job of portraying that. You know, Gwaine seemed a little dismissive in this scene, but not in the sort of way where it comes across as him trying to say to Alicent, like, oh, get lost or whatever. But it's him saying, like, oh, you know, you were always father's favorite, and him sort of being jealous at that. But there's clearly, like, a tenderness to his voice. And yeah, this scene is
It's so
good.
well done.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, trying to think about it a little bit. I mean, we got to see some of, like, Gwaine's feelings about, like, being left in Old Town, because it's kind of like what happened.
Yeah.
Otto and just, like, picked up and went to King's Landing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely interesting. And they've grown up in such different environments. I don't think Gwaine, like, he's not very conscious of what he's saying.
Yeah.
Because I don't think he really understands the magnitude of, like, her feelings. He doesn't understand how, like, awful the Red Keep is. It's like it's a horrible place to live at so many times.
It really is. Ugh.
Old Town, like, in comparison, is so much more fun, so much more jovial, so much more lighthearted.
Like, even in that, in the one chapter, in, like, A Feast for Crows, like, yeah, like, Old Town just seems like the best place ever, man.
It's so cool.
I would love to live at Old Town. Do you think we're gonna be seeing, like, an Old Town set this season? Because I really want to see Old Town, because we've never seen Old Town. We've seen Old Town a little bit in Game of Thrones, but I don't count that, because Game of Thrones didn't do a good job at, you know, doing things like film on location and all that.
Yeah. Did a bad job.
Yeah, I really want to see Old Town. I really want to see the wharfs and, like, the High Tower and the Sept and the Citadel. There are so many, like, key cool locations and wonders of the world at Old Town. Like, there are 3 wonders of the world at Old Town. It's insane.
3 huge seats of power. Like,
yeah.
The head of the faith, the head of learning in the entire continent, and then one of the largest and most important trading cities right behind King's Landing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's a huge seat of power. It's not even like the seat of one of the Lord Paramounts. So it's such an interesting place, but I don't think we're going to get to see it, sadly. I mean, in the preview, they talk about, like, Daemon's dragon taking flight. I mean, yeah. I doubt we'll see Daemon in Old Town anymore.
That has to be a tease. That has to be a tease for, like, next season, right?
Oh, yeah. I don't think they included Daemon in this season.
It would be a shock if they did. I would literally jump out of my seat. I will literally jump out of my seat if we see Daeron next episode.
I might, like, scream a little. Just a little bit.
I'm kind of...
God, one of the most fun characters. I'm so excited.
My cope is that child actors are not... I think there's something about child actors, like, you can't have them listed on IMDb, like, before the TV series airs because of, like, legal reasons and them being a minor. Yes, that's a good thing. I'm hoping, I am coping that Daeron's actor is, you know, like, a minor, and that's why we haven't heard anything about casting, and when we see him, he's just going to be this, like, charismatic person riding a blue dragon and playing his fucking lute, and I really want Daeron.
Oh my god, one of the coolest dragons. They have blue flame. I really hope they include that.
I mean, the last time Game of Thrones fans saw a dragon with blue flame, it wasn't that. It was a little traumatizing, to be honest.
Yeah.
Honestly, okay, it would look kind of silly. I don't think people talk about this enough, but color theory is a thing when it comes to these dragons.
Yeah.
Because if we think about the colors that these dragons are, Meleys and Caraxes are red. red and like, okay, and like, okay, look, fire. Fire is like red, orange, yellow, sometimes black because of the smoke.
Yes.
Black, and you know, Vagar has the black smoke for the fire. But let's talk like Daemon's dragon and Rhaenys' dragon, Caraxes and Meleys, they're red. And so the colors of fire work. Syrax and Sunfire, golden. The colors of fire, it works. Bela's dragon, it's a little bit weird. It like TBH.
We haven't seen it though.
Yeah, we haven't seen it though. We haven't seen it though. But also,
let's hope it's green.
But also like it's a pale green, right? Bela's dragon is a pale green. And presumably she's breathing fire that's like red, orange, yellow, and you know, even if the fire is more like more red, like red and green, they're complementary colors. They're on opposite sides of each other on the color wheel. That works. Even like the gray of Seasmoke works because gray is like a muted color, and if we have like a muted color paired with this vibrant fire, that works. The two colors that don't really work, that look silly, are blue and purple. And would you look at that? Daemon has a blue dragon. So either the blue is very, very muted, which I would be upset if it was.
Me too.
Or it has to,
so upset.
Or the fire would have to be blue. The fire would have to be blue. Like I'm
hoping, I'm praying.
Yeah.
Please.
Because I don't think a lot of people who watch House of the Dragon like think about the color theory of the colors of the dragons and why they work with the fire that they breathe and why it looks, you know, not jarring. I really think that if we have like a cobalt blue dragon breathing like orange fire, it would be a little bit weird, so to say.
It would be weird. I mean, also, Tessarian, I think they have bronze horns.
Bronze membranes is what
bronze
the book
membranes.
said. Yeah, so like the wing flaps would be brown, right?
I don't know. It's so, you're right. I mean, I have thought about like the colors of not only like the fire and the scales, but the eyes too, especially with like Meleys. We saw that a lot during the Battle of Westeros. The eyes are very important to the dragon.
The eyes, Meleys' eyes are orange, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're like
orange.
Almost camouflaged into the head.
Mm-hmm. And Syrax's eyes are green, which is very cool. I forget what color Vagar's eyes are.
Seasmoke had like a yellowish kind of eye.
Where did I put Seasmoke? Seasmoke's just back. Well, I can't see. Okay, never mind. But yeah. You're right. Daemon hype train, everybody.
Train. Oh, so excited.
Crossing my fingers, because we are going to see so many dragons next episode.
I am so...
Why not? Why not? Why don't we toss in the blue queen there?
As well.
We haven't seen Otto in so long. What's Otto doing?
Yes, so many people are like, I miss Otto, I miss Reese fans. Like, I miss him too.
Yeah.
His dialogue, his acting.
I miss him. Stellar. I miss him reading a thesaurus every time he walks into a room.
I love it. His complex language, it's so cool. Yeah. I loved his character this season.
Oh, have you one tangent? Have you seen in one of the trailers? There was a shot of this person with blonde hair, and he's in a tropical place with like what seems to be palm trees, and he has a face full of mud, and he like flops down onto the ground. He gets like thrown down or whatever, face up. Have you seen that shot? Have you seen that trailer?
No.
I'm pretty sure that's Tyland Lannister getting fucking shit on. because I think Tywin Lannister really is just the person who takes all the L's this season. He's like the comic relief.
It might be the other twin. I mean,
oh, it might be Jason too. Yeah, yeah. But the reason why I think it's Tywin is because in this episode, Aemond tells Tywin to go treat with the Triarchy. So I'm thinking maybe this is a scene across the Narrow Sea.
It might be. I think that would be really risky. I don't know.
Because
I was thinking about that a lot. I really...
Have you seen casting?
What?
Sorry, go on.
I don't know. Book spoiler, but one of the changes they made, Otto was the one who actually treated with the Triarchy, using the fact that they were Daemon's once enemies.
Yeah, that's right.
To, like, try to woo them over.
That's right.
Switching from that to Aemond, I thought that was really unnecessary and inconvenient for the pacing.
Yeah, I agree. But you know, the reason why they probably did it that way is a little spoilery. But if I just say the words "the gullet," being you know, probably not this season. You'll kind of know. You kind of know why, right? We know we're gonna see the Triarchy this season. We know we're gonna see this. What's her face? Racalia. No, not Racalia Rindu. Yes. Her name got changed.
Shiraka Lohar.
Yeah. I forget the actress's name. Philosophy 2. Philosophy 2. Yeah. So you know, trans character, trans pirate, nonetheless. We know we're gonna see the trans Triarchy pirate this season. The casting has been, the casting has been. So that's gonna be fun. Like we might see some new locations in the final 2 episodes. We might, you know, the Stepstones and maybe Old Town. I'm really excited to see where we're going.
Oh yeah, I loved the Golden Tooth. I thought the depiction of the castle was really smart.
Yeah.
Having it be like a literal kind of wall between the Westerlands and Riverlands.
Yeah. And just, come on, like the lions? Are you serious? That's very unnecessary. You don't need the lions. You don't need the lions.
You can just like imagine how bad that would go. Yeah. Just interacting with like some of the people that were around them. The lions were not happy to be there.
Mm-hmm. Insane. I think we have like one more thing to talk about before spoiler section, maybe 2. Oh yeah. This is the last.
Oh my god.
Okay, so this scene wasn't in the books. This scene wasn't in the books.
Such an amazing change. We'll talk about it more in the spoiler section.
Yeah, this scene is also why I have you as a guest on the show, because I know you're my fellow queerdo.
Oh yes.
But also my original guest has a cold right now, so but you're here. And I could not be happier. We talked, I think, a little bit, or I don't know if you were there, but in one of the servers, a bunch of people were like discussing this scene and how quote unquote like realistic it is. And I think a bunch of like the queerdos all agreed that they liked this scene. Which
this was like so. It was like perfect.
But
I can't.
I also.
Oh my god.
I was also saying in that convo, like, I've been in a very similar situation before. Like, not in the same sense that, like, I met this person, like, 2 weeks ago, but in the sense that, like, I didn't know I liked them until, like, I was, like, going in for the goods, you know?
Yeah.
But, like, and then I asked a bunch of people on the server, and they were like, "Oh yeah, no, that happened to me too. I know what that is. I've been there." And I'm like, "Okay, great, yeah." So yeah, I think
a singular experience. I think that's why it worked so well.
Yeah, like the people who know know.
Talk about it a little bit.
Yeah, what's up?
Okay?
Yeah. Go ahead.
I think like what came to mind when watching this and kind of like rewatching it, queerness, like when it's not prideful, it's hesitation at its core. Whenever interacting with like other people of like the same sex, or interacting with people who have different like different gender identities, it's always like a testing the waters. It's always a little bit hesitant. You never, because approval and like trust can be taken away so easily if you read the situation wrong for some people.
Yeah.
Like, it was, the way they approached it as just a hug, and then a sniff, and then a nuzzle, and then like, it's like such a perfect depiction of what like I would imagine like queerness, or especially like sapphic queerness in this realm would be like. Oh my god, I loved it.
Yeah. I really, this kind of soft confirms that like Rhaenyra and Alicent were maybe a thing. Like, you know, because like looking back in like the earlier episodes of season 1, I definitely like a lot of people were feeling it as well, that like Rhaenyra and Alicent, it seemed like that they had some romantic feelings going on. I'm wondering if we're gonna explore that on Alicent's end, like if Alicent is gonna have like a sapphic moment. Like I don't know who it would be with, but you know, honestly, like Alicent probably isn't gonna have an opportunity for that, which I'm fine with. But
yeah,
this a lot of people obviously were very not okay with this scene. You know, thinking that it was like rushed or yeah, like House of the Dragon is woke. Like, how could
like, what?
I love this. I love this scene.
This was
I was
like
telling
so
you
intimate.
Yeah, I was telling you yesterday that the reason I was sort of like hesitant on this scene at first wasn't because I had an issue with it, but because when I was watching it, the only thing I could think of was the internet's gonna hate this. The internet's gonna hate. But then I took a moment and was thinking about how I thought of it. I really liked it. I did. Ooh, very good scene. Very good scene. So many implications. So many implications.
Oh my god. It's crazy, the implications.
Yeah. And I think especially going forward, like a bunch of people around Rhaenyra might start to become more distrusting of Rhaenyra because you know, and they're not seeing her and Mysaria like make out or whatever, but they're certainly seeing the two of them get close. And I think that would be that would be a catalyst for like maybe Jace becoming distrustful, or the rest of her council becoming distrustful, and certainly maybe why Mysaria gets the rep she does in the book of like a maligned like sorceress type character that can't be trusted by anyone and is this like deviant. Yeah, but like when you see her here, she's a very sympathetic character, and certainly one of the more like morally upright people, I would say.
And I think so human in a way that I mean, there's parallels with like Daemon and Alice with like the relationships that they have. While Daemon and Alice's relationship isn't sexual, there is like a big theme with it is trust, the development of trust, the development of like reliance, and you see that a lot with this relationship. It's because with Daemon, it's not juxtaposed with like a council. It's just like juxtaposed with the rest of Alice's family.
Yeah,
this is like such an interesting deviation because it's not a heterosexual like trust relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So, oh my god, the implications. It's
a lot of. I'm realizing that in this season in particular, it's becoming quite obvious. Romance in this show sort of reveals people's needs, I think.
Yeah.
If you think back to like Aemon's relationship with Sylvie, during that scene, you know, he doesn't want to have like sex with her, he just wants to cuddle, and you know, there's like milk being poured by someone like on the table, that reveals, that that Aemond really needs like a motherly figure, right? And
Yeah.
and if we think to like Alicent and Criston Cole, like Criston Cole needs someone who is able to enable him to do whatever the heck he wants. Like Criston Cole needs a Criston Cole needs atonement. He wishes for atonement. He needs someone to be able to absolve him of all of the shitty things he's done. And like Alicent is like the symbol of that. Alicent wears all of this like religious imagery, and she's a mother. She's like the symbol of the mother, like the symbol of forgiveness in the Faith of the Seven. And that's what Criston Cole needs.
Deified by Criston.
Yeah.
It's really weird. And like, you also just see like the constant shedding of that relationship after Westeros.
Yeah. And here we see that Rhaenyra really needs trust. Rhaenyra needs people that she can trust, because right now she doesn't really have anyone that she can fully trust. She has Jacaerys, but Jacaerys is starting to question her. She certainly can't trust Daemon, and the people on her council, like, they're openly defying her wishes, and
they coddle her. She says, I think she says coddle them, like a daughter, like a mother.
Yeah, so Rhaenyra really needs trust right now, and I think this sexual and romantic relationship here sort of reveals that. So I think also, this is really interesting. Yeah, what's up?
Yeah, when I saw these two, it kind of like, I don't know, like slightly confirmed my headcanon with Criston and Gwaine. I feel
Oh, yeah?
I don't know. I was thinking about it in the context of like the larger story and like war as a whole. I was thinking about parallels from like the main series with Rhaegar and Connington, John Con. This kind of like on the war, nearly homosexual like relationship, but it's not like a full. It's like this homoeroticism that develops in times of like such stress.
John and Satin.
Gender roles are so enforced.
Yeah.
And they like get reinforced during the war.
Yeah.
It's so interesting. I hope it's like that. I hope they develop a relationship like that, like some sort of like pseudo-sexual relationship. Because I think it'd be really interesting, because they're kind of the only two who have like been through the horrors together, especially after like that tragedy that was for Westeros, like the fucking awfulness that it was. I feel like they might, like, I don't know, bond in a way that might be sexual or non-sexual, but I'm just excited to see that relationship develop.
Yes. Yeah. I'm thinking of the context of like the book and Mazaria's relationship to Daemon in the book versus Rhaenyra in the show, and maybe some feelings that could pop up. Or actually, we've really talked about everything except for like Rhaena, who I was expecting to talk in the spoiler section as well. Do you just want to rip off the Band-Aid?
Yeah, let's rip off the Band-Aid.
Okay, so for everyone at home, we're going to be talking about spoilers, like full steam ahead. Just spoilers. Yeah, we're spilling the tea. Yes. I'm really interested in seeing, like, if what happens in the book with Rhaenyra and Daemon's degradation, like the degrading of their relationship after she takes King's Landing, and sends the letter to whatever lord to kill Nettles. Maidenpool. To kill Nettles. I wonder, and I think, honestly, Rhaena is probably taking the place of Nettles in the show. Yeah. So it's probably going to be Daemon and Rhaena at Maidenpool at that point. But I'm wondering if there's going to be sort of like a reversal in the show of, like, instead of Rhaenyra becoming pissed off at Daemon, maybe it's Daemon being pissed off at Rhaenyra, and it's kind of like in a very tragic way, like a reversal of Rhaenyra not being able to trust Daemon. What if like later in the series it's going to be Daemon not being able to trust Rhaenyra because, and he sees that Rhaenyra and Mysaria is getting at it, which by the way, like, is very insulting for Daemon because Daemon has had a relationship with both of these women.
He's gonna see it as a betrayal. Like, any way they try to present it to him, or any way he finds out, it's gonna be seen as a betrayal.
Yeah.
Especially after he's walked through this like fire of personal struggle, especially thinking about young Rhaenyra, older Rhaenyra, I guess sooner. But he's thought about a lot of the women in his life he's used, and to see that he's gonna go back, I'm assuming he's gonna have expectations of what it's gonna be like, and those are gonna be squashed. It's gonna be really cool to see how that plays out. The reversal of roles that you talked about. Oh my god! And I'm thinking about Rhaenyra's fall. Mysaria, she's guided by her morals and her love of the smallfolk. It's going to be interesting to see how Rhaenyra fucks that up, and how Rhaenyra like ends up alienating Mysaria in some way. It's just such a cool setup, and it's so smart. It's so smart. The writers and Emma Darcy herself, and Sonoya. I mean, like, just they're brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. It's such a brilliant addition. I love it. Oh my god.
It's very good. Oh my. What else can we say? How does Mysaria die? I think it's.
I lost track of her, honestly. I don't remember. I can look though.
I think she dies when Rhaenyra's fleeing King's Landing, or like before that, she's like whipped through the streets or whatever. But I don't know if Mysaria is really going to die at that point in the show, or if they're going to change it, or... Yeah.
Yeah, during the riot at King's Landing, Mysaria warned Rhaenyra against the coming dark. When Rhaenyra ultimately fled to the capital, Mysaria remained at the Red Keep among other members of the court. Sir Gareth the Hairlip surrendered the Red Keep to Sir Perkin the Flea and his Gutter Knights. She attempted to flee, but was taken. Oh yeah, you're right. Travel naked through the city before being whipped and dying. God, that's awful.
Season... Honestly, at this point, I think House of the Dragon is going to be 5 seasons long.
Honestly, I'd welcome it.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah. No, because this...
More.
Yeah, like, this season's probably going to end with Rhaenyra taking King's Landing, and then, like, season 3 is going to be the Gullet and Daeron in the Reach.
Southern campaign.
Yeah. And, like, I don't know how season 3 might end. Like, it might end with... I don't know. Yeah, I was gonna say Tumbleton, but like Tumbleton is like a later stage thing, right?
I don't know.
There's like the fish feed. Like the fish feed could be a.
I think that's gonna happen this season, to be honest.
Oh, this season? I can't keep track of everything.
That's earlier about.
Oh my god, no. Season 3 is gonna end with Kristen Cole fucking dying, because people are gonna be horny for that. Not horny in a horny way, but horny in like a yes, God way.
You know, for some people it might be.
Yeah. For some people it might be.
Oh my god, that'd be so fun.
Yeah. Season 3, maybe it's gonna end with that. Season 4 is gonna end with, Caraxes and Vhagar. I think that's like...
Yeah.
That's definitely like a season finale thing. Yeah. And then, season 5 is going to be, storming of the Dragon Pit, and then Rhaenyra fleeing, Aegon trapping Rhaenyra. Yeah, her thing at Dragonstone, Aegon trapping Rhaenyra there and killing her, and then Aegon himself dying, and then Aegon the Younger coming in, and probably the last scene is going to be... The last scene is probably going to be the Hour of the Wolf. Like, Cregan Stark coming down, executing Lord Larys and someone else, and then just fucking off.
I don't know. Ryan Condal said he has one scene in mind to be like the punctuation.
Yeah, and it's probably
Yeah,
the
sure.
Hour of the Wolf. It's probably the Hour of the Wolf, because that
It might be.
it's very good for. It's a very good punctuation mark for like the Game of Thrones diehards as well, because you know the Starks, right? So if House of the Dragon ends with the Starks doing an important thing, then that'll be notable for them. So
Yeah.
Okay. So next on the agenda we have Rhaena, right? And Rhaena's probably gonna take the place of Nettles and Ride Sheepstealer, right? It's gonna be pretty hard to have Rhaena, you know, see Sheepstealer and then ride Sheepstealer and then have Nettles come into the story. Like that, for me, that doesn't really make any sense. Do you think that's happening? Like, what do you think is happening there? Do you think we're getting Nettles? Do you think Rhaena's gonna take the place of Nettles? What do you think's happening there?
Okay, so in the episode preview for the next episode, they showed a bunch of, I think, like, people on, like, Dragonstone or Driftmark, and one of them was a black woman with, like, an afro. I think, I don't feel like if it might, I don't know, because they could just, like, fully replace Nettles with Rhaena. They've done all the setup. It could be.
Honestly, it might be a fake out. Honestly, it might be a fake out. Honestly, okay, and that would be really insulting to Rhaena, to be honest, right? Her wanting a dragon and then seeing Sheepstealer and then not being able to claim Sheepstealer. What, like, she's gonna have to wait until the final season, until morning hatches, right? It's, like, that would suck for her. But, yeah. Like, one thing I could see happening, if Nettles is an actual character, is like maybe Nettles wants to ride one of the Dragonstone dragons but is unable to, and then she goes to the Vale, which, you know, honestly that might be a little too jetpacky for my liking. But she might travel to the Vale and claim Sheepstealer instead. But that seems like a stretch, you know? That seems unnecessary. I don't know. I don't know.
They could do it.
Yeah.
They could portray it as like Nettles was close to Sheepstealer before Sheepstealer started venturing out.
Oh yeah. Maybe Nettles is just there. Maybe Nettles is just already there. Maybe she's just like a Royce bastard or something. You know, maybe Nettles is like a bastard of like a Royce or an Aaron and a Targaryen, right? Maybe.
Like Daemon and some other like lowborn maybe, or
yeah.
Like Daemon and a Summer Islander.
Yeah. Oh my god, wait.
I really want Nettles though.
Wait, what if Nettle, oh wait, no, that doesn't work. No, that doesn't. I was gonna say, what if Nettles was the son or was the daughter of Daemon and Rhea Royce, but those are two white bitches. That doesn't work.
Yeah, two white bitches wouldn't make sense. I honestly, for Rhaena's whole arc, I was kind of excited to see just like her acceptance that I won't ever like get a dragon, and this change of character from like this ambition to have a dragon and be a dragon rider and be like the people around her, to becoming more like Lady Jane Eyre, who uses her power in like a soft, subtle way. Because that's kind of like what happens in the book. She becomes the ward of Lady Jane Eyre.
Yeah.
And in a way, she kind of learns how to be this really good diplomat.
Yeah.
From Lady Jane Eyre. And she gets to display that after the end of the dance.
I think it's too late, though, unfortunately. It would be cool. It would be really cool. I think the seeds have been planted, though. To be true. Yeah, I think the seeds have been planted, though. She saw the burned sheep and the blackened landscape this episode. I think her arc is going to be to ride Sheepstealer. George R. R. Martin doesn't seem happy with that in his latest blog post. No. So, he was definitely not happy. And I'm fine with it, to be honest. I'm not the most thrilled about it. I'm not like jumping for joy. like out of my seat for it, but like I would say I'm more fine with it than a lot of the book readers. It's like, whatever. For me.
Yeah, I think Mira talked about like the show and like if you keep expecting it to be like the books, you're going to be like very disappointed.
Yeah. If you expect this show to be like the quote real version of what happened in Fire and Blood without all the like that's not what it is. It's a television adaptation.
Yeah,
it's a television adaptation, and you're gonna have to be fine with
ironic.
That. Yeah, because the books would have mentioned Maylis busting out of the floor if that happened in the books, but it didn't. It didn't.
Yeah.
And you could say a lot of cope things, right? You could say like, but what if the Greens didn't want the history to know that because that would make them seem weak, so they like did an entire like propaganda like no. There were like
even if that was
thousands
true.
Of people there.
Oh my god.
The small folk would have tattled.
Yeah.
Right? That's not that. This is a different thing. This is not
later in the
book
story,
canon.
There's other things that happen in the Dragon Pit. Like Bartimaeus, I think he charges like per execution. They like, do like all the executions in the Dragon Pit. They like feed them to the dragons. So they like charge for people to watch that.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure like they wouldn't be able to do that anymore.
Yeah, because that would be like very cruel.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh wait, I mean, what if that's how we see Dreamfire? I'm just excited for Dreamfire. Cool. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, you were saying?
Like with Rhaena's, like this sheep stealer arc. I don't know. I like the disposal of Nettles, which is like this low class black woman whose parentage is way more vague than it is for all the other dragon seeds. Yeah. It's really just kind of, I don't know, offensive, but just kind of fucked. I can understand why they did it.
Yeah, she's a beloved character. She's a beloved character.
Yeah.
If they were gonna cut a dragon seed, why not cut like Ulf or something, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it makes sense because of Rhaena. Like, it's already been an introduced character who's already people are probably wanting. They already set up a lot of the seeds. Oh, I don't have a dragon. This has been something discussed multiple times in season 1. So I guess in a way for show fans, it will be pretty exciting. It's just so kind of disrespectful to the character because it serves so much narrative purpose outside of just Fire and Blood. The fact that, like, someone who doesn't look like a Targaryen, doesn't exhibit any of the traits, someone who's low class, like, lower class, it's like such a juxtaposition of Targaryen supremacy and exceptionalism. Mm-hmm. That's why the character is so good. That's when it's like, and it's a wild dragon. The only person who have ever played a wild dragon that we know of.
Yeah.
That's why it makes it so interesting.
Exactly. And
that's also... Oh, keep going. I want to hear what you have to say.
No, I was just saying that, like... And that's a shame. That's a shame if they're gonna cut Nettles out of the story because of all of the implications that Nettles has on, like, Valyrian blood magic and the importance of it. That's all. Hold up. Wait.
Cut out, by the way. Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, MJ, you weren't saying anything for a while there.
Yeah, you cut out. I was like, oh, is it still frozen? We're good.
We're good.
Yeah, you were talking about the implications. It's pretty crazy. That's kind of why I'm hopeful that Rhaena doesn't end up getting sheep stealer, because we have been told, I think, once or twice, well, like a couple times, that Rhaena tried to, like, mount the dragons on Dragonstone that were rideable, and it just didn't work. So it just doesn't make sense to me that she would claim a wild dragon. It just doesn't make sense, because the Tane Woods are, like, they've said to be obviously easier to mount because they have had riders before. It just, that's the coolness of Nettles. She's able to tame a dragon through non-Valyrian ways. Through the process of just, like, well, it actually might be pretty truly Valyrian, because the Valyrians were shepherds before they were dragon riders.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just the, like, constant giving of sheep, the development of relationship, instead of this, like, oh, I deserve a dragon. That's why it's so cool. It's, the trust is earned, the relationship is earned, it's not given.
Yeah.
That's why I really don't like the Reyna arc, because it's just kind of, it's like, oh, because I didn't get all of this, I deserve to be able to mount this dragon.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I'm, like, hoping that Sheepstealer just, like, wants none of it, and it becomes, like, a season 3 arc.
Mm-hmm.
We need to get this dragon.
This is like a really slippery slope. What they might do with Reyna and potentially cutting Nettles, because it happened in season 3 of Game of Thrones with Lady Stoneheart, and people were like, oh, okay, I guess we're not doing Lady Stoneheart. Then they continued to cut out characters like, oh, no Victarion? Cool. Oh, no, Aeron? Cool. Who else? No Aegon? Like, are you kidding me? No Aegon? Insane.
That was crazy.
No Jon Con. No Euron. Like, we got a Euron, but it wasn't Euron, let's be honest. Yeah. It's a very slippery slope. I really hope they don't cut a lot of the characters. I really hope this doesn't become a habit where they start cutting a lot of the characters.
We've already seen this in the Riverlands. Because we haven't seen, like, a lot of the South, I guess we can't really say much about that. We can't say if they cut a lot of characters yet.
Well, Hobart is dead.
Riverlords.
Hobart is dead, right? Hobart is dead.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Sarah Snow. Sarah Snow. I mean, I guess Sarah Snow isn't too important.
I'm fine with that.
Sarah Snow I'm fine with. But yeah, like the Tullys, like Elmo.
Like Sarah Snow.
Elmo's not there. That's fine.
Yeah.
It's like some of the tertiary characters, right, that are cut, and that's fine. But some of the, like, main characters, like Nettles, it's kind of risky.
Or, yeah, with the phrase Sabbath Frey, they're saying that, or, like, the wiki at least, that Sabbath Frey was the wife that we saw of the Lord, I think.
Yeah, she was the one who's fond of killing men and kissing women. Yes,
the fiery Viperin, like, it's so cool. They're, like, one of the cooler characters, Sabbath Frey and Black Alley, and I hope we see Ben Blackwood.
Yeah.
And just, like, these 3 Riverland characters.
And Black Alley.
Important to, like, the later story.
Yeah.
We haven't seen any of them.
Ben Blackwood was mentioned by the other Blackwood, Samuel Blackwood, I think. And Black Alley. I want to see Black Alley.
Me too. One of my favorite characters ever.
Crazy stuff. Yeah. Anyways, cutting characters, we talked about that. What was I going to say with... Oh my god, yeah. I was going to say... do you have anything more to say about any of this stuff, or...
Oh, yeah. The Gay Abandon.
The Gay Abandon!
I'm very excited for that.
Okay.
I think they might... Okay, I want to hear what you have to say.
Isn't the Gay Abandon just the perfect descriptor of Laenor, though?
Yeah.
Like,
very perfect.
Like, I don't know. He might come back. He might be attached to Reyna's storyline. Here's to hoping. I don't know. But yeah, you were gonna say something?
Yeah, we saw Stormcloud. Stormcloud is very obviously not writable. We know that part of the warning that Rhaenyra and, like, the other dragon riders got was from Aegon clinging onto Stormcloud, fleeing the huge, like, Triarchy fleet, and Stormcloud dying. That, we can see that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Joffrey might take that place.
Wait.
That'd be interesting.
Oh, like,
Joffrey's, like,
Tyraxes?
Understand more, like...
Yeah. Or wait, no. Okay.
You cut out what you said.
Oh, sorry. I like that would be cool. That would be interesting. I think if Joffrey and Tyraxes like took that place, but that for the bigger story, I think it's more impactful that Aegon the Third sees his dragon killed in front of him. Right? Maybe it's just a thing of his dragon is slaughtered in front of his eyes, and then he's traumatized because of that.
It would be impactful. I don't know. I was trying to think of like how, like Stormcloud might end up just dying still on the boat. They might just like cut its head off, something violent. But maybe his like fear of dragons might come from seeing Stormcloud try to defend itself, maybe burning someone. Maybe there's like horror that develops there, and maybe like a resentment of dragons seeing his brother fly off. Maybe that's how they'll try to structure the story, making Aegon like truly the Dragon Bane. But I don't know.
Yeah.
I really don't know how they'll do it, and I'm just like kind of nervous because Aegon the Third is like one of my favorite kings.
Oh, that is an opinion. Wait, can you like favorite as in most interesting?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I don't think there's an argument.
Interesting.
Okay, I don't think there's an argument that he's
no.
yeah. But yeah,
I don't think they were a great father.
This is valid. This is valid. That
Did you say something? You cut out for a second.
Sorry, wait. I keep on cutting out. I hope it's coming. I hope the audio is fine. But I was just saying that yeah,
it's fine. I think it should be fine.
Mm-hmm. I was just saying. What was I saying? I was saying valid. Yeah, that's it. Valid. Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
Oh my god. The dragon, the description, and like some of my favorite chapters in Fire and Blood are after the dance. They're my favorite to read. Like my favorite to reread.
Okay. The Regency was a mess.
I love the Dragon Base.
With the peaks?
That's why I love it. Oh my god, so good. The peaks, the Rogares, the winter fever, the constant tragedy, the fallout of the dance, like
there's so much mystery. Yeah, there's so much mystery surrounding the stuff like right after the dance, because like why did I forget who it was, but Aegon's wife killed herself, right? I forget which. Was it Daenerys who killed herself?
Jaehaera?
Oh,
no,
yeah.
Jaehaera.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like there's so much.
That's like a whole like plot point. They're trying to figure out who did it.
There's so much mystery surrounding like what happened after the dance. It's crazy because like the dance was devastating for everybody. Like the period of time. Yeah, the period of time right after the dance, it was known as like the widows something, like the reign of the widows, like the widow's hour. Yeah, the widow's hour, because so many women, which is so ironic, by the way, that Rhaenyra was fighting for like women to be able to rule, and then it happened, but not in the way that she wanted it to, because like the women were ruling because all of their husbands were fucking dead.
So amazing. Yeah. Oh my god, we're like in the West, they were ruling as like regents over their little lords, they were like little babies. Or even like Storm's End too. Oh my god, it's one of my favorite periods. That's why I'm so sad that Ryan Condal has like an endpoint, and I know it's not going to be during the Regency. Oh, it breaks my heart. It's my favorite era. Oh, I love it so much.
Heck yeah.
But I get why. Just so many questions. That's what I'm kind of excited to see with this Rhaena plot. I'm very intrigued to see how the writers are going to approach it.
Yeah. Especially with the stuff that happens after the dance. Because, you know, Baela and Rhaena both survive, so good for them.
Yeah, and Mourning, by the way, favorite dragon ever. By far.
Mourning's the pink one, right?
I love Mourning. Yes, the pink one. The one that's like a little skull around Rhaena.
Yeah.
So adorable.
Heck yeah. Do you have more to talk about Rhaena and Baela, or should I move on to my thing about Daemon and the Weirwood net?
I don't want to hear the Weirwood net stuff.
Okay. So I know I showed you one of Michael's videos, and you didn't quite agree with what Michael had to say. But my thing about Daemon and Aemond fighting above the God's Eye and like crashing into that lake and becoming a huge fucking blood sacrifice to the weirwood net on the God's Eye. Like, there is so much stuff that could be happening there. Like, to me, I don't know. It almost...
I can hear you now. I don't know what happened there.
Oh, that's crazy. Okay.
Yes.
I was talking about the weirwood net. And that Daemon...
Honestly, I didn't hear anything.
Yeah, I'm gonna repeat it. So, the weirwood net, Daemon and Aemond fighting above the God's Eye and then crashing into the lake. That's like a huge blood sacrifice for all of the weirwoods on that island.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm thinking that maybe Daemon and maybe even Aemond would become like the Blood Raven before Blood Raven. Maybe. I don't know how that would work, but like maybe they would fuse with the trees there, and maybe they would become like the same entity. Like there's all of this like imagery of Daemon and Aemond being the same person. What if like after the God's Eye, they literally like merge into like the same consciousness? All really weird ass stuff.
Interesting.
Very
weird.
But yeah.
Cool weird.
Yeah, cool weird. Exactly.
That's
because we
really
know
cool to think about.
We know that they crash into the God's Eye Lake, and their dragons crash into the God's Eye Lake as well. And so it is like a huge sacrifice, like a huge blood sacrifice that happens there. It's crazy stuff.
I mean, literally, these are huge fucking beasts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, we know that one of the dragons ends up being revived in some way.
Really? Wait, what do you mean?
We hear about that.
Wait, what do you mean?
Regency, like, they have a dragon. Don't laugh at me. If you laugh, I will die.
Wait, what?
That?
What? Who? Wait, who said that? Wait, what?
It's all about Harrenhal and Alice Rivers. Apparently, like, it becomes like this band of rogues and like outlaws. I'm assuming broken men. And Alice Rivers kind of used them to garrison the castle. And she becomes this like lady of the outlaws.
Oh my god, yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. Like, apparently a bunch of people die in, like, the first party they send to investigate and, like, get rid of all the people in Harrenhal. The one survives, and the one person comes back, like, a couple days later and says, "Do not laugh. If you laugh, I will die." And then they talk about the dragon, and someone laughs, and he fucking dies. I
need to reread the Regency era. Because I am so sorry. I'm very sorry. I'm not the most familiar with the Regency era, and I apologize, but that is totally okay. I have Fire and Blood with me right now, so I need to reread the Regency era. That's super cool. Like, maybe Caraxes survived somehow. Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking, because Vhagar's the one
whose
neck gets gnawed.
Yeah, like Caraxes died like a bit later. Like he was able to crawl out of the lake. Yeah,
and they only had, I think, stomach wounds.
Yeah.
And I think we'll see that Sunfire will survive those.
Yeah. Man, like, Isn't it weird? Isn't it weird that Caraxes has just the longest fucking neck, and Vhagar's the chompy one? Like, my assumption is that Vhagar's gonna go for the neck. And that's gonna, like, prompt Daemon to be like, oh, I have no choice but to hop out of my saddle and, like, plunge my eye into Aemond. Yeah.
In the books, it was, they were both on the floor, and at the same time, they lifted off from the air, but Vhagar, because she's so huge, had to do circles around Harrenhal to gain height.
Yeah.
And Caraxes just, like,
straight up,
like, lunged up with his little, like, four wings, little wings, too.
Is there
it descended on Vhagar's neck?
Yeah. I mean, is there any debate that Vhagar and Caraxes, like the battle above the God's Eye, is there any debate that that's not going to be like the thing of House of the Dragon, like the fight of House of the Dragon?
Fight.
Yeah, that is going to be the event of the dance. That is going to be the event of the dance. It's going to be crazy. I'm so excited to see it happening.
I mean, yeah, they were some of the earliest dragons we saw, besides Cyrax and like Seasmoke. Vhagar and Phyrexia are some of the first dragons we've seen.
Yeah.
So it'll be so cool to see them like actually
so cool.
fight and die.
Yeah. I might get Michael to do one of these episodes with me, and me and Michael are probably going to talk about the Weirwood Net for like an hour. It's crazy.
Very entertaining. I love it. The Weirwoods are so fucking interesting. And I really like they did merge consciousness. That was really cool.
Yeah. But yeah, the dragon seeds. We're probably going to get all of the dragon seeds next episode too, right? Like things are really like the pace. Oh, the pace! It's like ramping up now, and I'm really excited.
Ambitious.
Yeah. I don't know. Like King's Landing to Dragonstone. That's only like. That's not that far away, right? It's feasible if like Ulf and Hugh just show up at Dragonstone next episode, right? I'm not incorrect in saying that.
Which seems like a very like obvious thing that's going to happen, not just for them, but for like a lot of people in King's Landing, because they know they don't have any more food there, and they got food from Dragonstone. I think there's going to be like
you think people?
Exodus to Dragonstone.
Yeah, to Dragonstone. That's going to be cool. Yeah. Yeah, like Addam is probably
more problems.
Yes. Man, really cool stuff. And really cool episode because of all of the implications that some of these scenes gave us.
It's really my favorite so far.
Yeah, that's a, you know what? With how people on the internet are talking about this episode, that is a very bold opinion, and I respect it. I respect it. This episode definitely. I love this episode. Don't get me wrong. I think that yeah, like this episode was probably like second or third place this season for me. Yeah.
I think this is like second in like the whole series. My first is the Driftmark episode in season 1. That's my favorite episode.
Oh, episode 7?
Yeah.
Okay. Fun. Nice.
This show,
so good. Do you have any closing remarks, MJ, or do you think we're done here?
I'm trying to think. I think we've gotten most of the points. I really liked the banners that they attached to the little boat with all the food. I thought that was very smart.
The what food? Sorry?
The food that Rhaenyra and Mysaria shipped in.
Oh, the boats. Yeah. Because that's like them telling the smallfolk like exactly where the food came from. Yeah, really good stuff.
Who they are, where the foods come from. It adds like they're literally planting their flag on King's Landing before they even send the dragons in.
Yeah.
Incredibly smart.
Man, it's gonna.
Oh my god.
It's good. Can you imagine like 7 dragons over King's Landing in the season finale?
That's gonna be insane.
Yeah.
I'm so stoked.
Yeah. People who complain about the season being slow just don't really understand like build up and payoff, right? Like not every episode needs to be a battle episode. Chill out, guys. Yeah. We're getting dragons, we're getting characters, emotional stories like figured out. It's all gonna be good. It's
gonna pay off. I think that's why I loved it so much. It's so much setup, and it was unexpectedly, for me, just like unexpectedly very well done.
Oh yeah.
So that's why we're like, I love this episode.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. And the Seasmoke. Oh my god, the Seasmoke and Addam chase. I don't think we talked about that.
Seasmoke and Addam chase, yeah.
It was so good.
It was so interesting that Seasmoke seeked out Addam instead of like the other way around, right?
Yes. And that juxtaposed to like them having to use the song and using so many commands to get like Steffon even near Seasmoke.
Yeah. It's kind of like was Viserys right in saying that they don't control the dragons? Like the dragons are Seasmoke was the one who chose his rider, not the other way around. So Seasmoke had the power in that whole situation, like not the rider. So really interesting stuff.
It's really interesting. Oh my god, I had another thought about it. Mind's blanking. Yes, it was almost like a hunting scene. And I thought it was kind of parallel to Meleys and Vhagar in their battle.
Mm.
The the claw attaching that they did. It's in like bald eagles. That's like a mating ritual. It's like a death spiral.
Yeah.
Where they like attach claws and do all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I really like how closely the relationship of like love and hate is with the dragons and the riders, because it makes so much sense for the Targaryen Civil War, because it's between family members, because like their relationships are so twisted and intertwined. I think it's such a cool way to reflect that in the actual dragon bond, especially in a time of war.
Yeah, definitely. And like these dragons are related too, right? Like that's another thing, right? People forget, like, Caraxes and Vhagar. Their previous riders were Balon and his brother Aemond. Alyssa rode Meleys, and Vhagar just killed Meleys. Vhagar, the mount of Balon, just killed the mount of Balon's wife.
It's crazy.
Yeah. I wonder if we're gonna see like the dragons sort of like being sad at what they have to do and being like regretful. Like I feel like that would be very impactful. It might be at Tumbleton. Oh yeah, no, because a bunch of weird stuff with the dragons happened at Tumbleton, right? With Tessarion and Seasmoke and Vermithor. Yeah.
My favorite, honestly, thing to read was that dragon battle with Seasmoke, Vermithor, Tessarion.
And Silverwing.
So cool.
Silverwing trying to raise the wing of Vermithor after Vermithor's dead.
Broke my heart.
Yeah. Damn.
They're just little animals. Come on, guys.
Yeah, they're literally just little puppies. It's crazy.
It's crazy. I love this episode. This was so fun. Thank you for having me.
Oh yeah, of course. We have nothing else to say, yeah?
Yeah.
We've pretty gone over everything. Yeah. Same here. But yeah, once again, thank you so much, MJ, for coming onto the show. It was great talking to you.
A blast.
Heck yeah.
Oh, so fun.
All right, I'll see you.
Okay. Bye all.
Bye-bye.